so I don't forget that. I forgot that once this week. We're at minus 23 Celsius outside, dropping to a whopping minus 30 tonight, I believe. Hold on. Oh, of course, and now my phone's going to do a bunch of things that I don't want it to do. So let's go. Yeah, we're going to have a low. Oh, goodness. We're at the low already. We're at the low already of minus 23. Feels like minus 29. So, yeah, we're there. We're there. Cold, but we got about another week and a half of this, and then it's over for the year. We'll start warming up. We got about 30 seconds, my friend. 30 seconds.
Okay.
And to our YouTube chatters, Mary Bone is here, everyone. She's a vegetarian, Mary Bone. Who else am I missing here? Got Border Wall. I'll figure it out. Super Chat is open. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you're new here, please do us the favor. Hit that subscribe button because we're going to have one hell of a show here starting in 3 seconds. Here we go. From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Rob Gutro is an author, paranormal investigator, and medium with Inspired Ghost Tracking of Maryland. Since he was a child, he's been able to receive messages from ghosts or spirits. This man is one of the most talented when it comes to writing books on all things supernatural, including getting in touch with our lost dear pets. He is a lecturer. He is someone who is a very big talent when it comes to being known as the pet medium. His website, robgutro.com. That's Gutro, robgutro.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I'm going to bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. My good friend, Rob Gutro. How are you doing, man?
I am doing very well, Dave, and I am so happy to be back with you.
Oh, man. When you emailed me and you're like, Dave, I got a new book. Is it okay if I come on? I'm, hell yeah, of course you can. You know, I think that conversation lasted about 12 seconds to get a date booked for you here on the show. And that just shows how much admiration and love that not only myself, but our listeners have for you as well, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I'd like to think it's actually for the pets on the other side than me, but I appreciate that.
You know, I'm meaning to tell you this because I think it's been about a year since we had you on. About a year, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I lost one of my dogs. Okay, and she was a little Chihuahua Dachshund, and her two favorite habits were cuddling and eating. And she had been having some health issues, but you know what? She passed away eating a hot dog. She passed away eating a hot dog. And, you know, I tried to feel sympathy. You know, I really did try to feel sympathy because I loved her. Okay, I remember adopting her as a pup from the shelter in my town, and she was just the cutest little thing, and she died eating a hot dog. Went total mama Cass on us. And
well, if you gotta go, that's a good way to go.
Well, that's the thing. Like I was very sad, but knowing that she died happy, eating.
Yeah.
And eating human food. Like, she loved her dog food, but if there was a chance that she could have some human food, that was her heaven. Absolute heaven. But the cool part about it was that night when I crawled into bed after the radio show, okay, I had to ask her to move because I saw her shadow laying on my bed on my side. And her name was Zero. And I said, Zero, you got to move over, baby, because I got to crawl into bed. And I watched her shadow stand up and move away and disappear.
That's fantastic. That's pretty common, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And did you actually feel any weight to her too?
I did a couple of nights later. I felt the weight. And what was really weird is we've lost 2 cats since we've been here. Mm-hmm. And a few days after she passed, I actually felt one of the deceased cats. I was lying on my stomach, watching some YouTube or something on my phone, and I actually felt one of the cats jump up on the bed, crawl across my legs, and then tuck in beside my leg, and then that feeling, you have that weight feeling, and then it disappeared.
Yeah, so that is a very, very common way, especially for cats, but dogs do it too. But so feeling a pressure usually against your legs at night, and seeing shadows, and we can get into why we see shadows of pets, because you can see them visibly, but it's not very common. It takes a lot of energy.
Absolutely, Rob. We're going to go deep into this tonight, and I know our audience is going to be enthralled all night long with you. But let's learn about you. You have been a psychic medium since you were a child, and I'm just curious, how did you first realize that you were talking to ghosts?
Yeah, I was about 13 years old, and I realized that I was talking to someone, or actually looking at someone who was dead, when my grandfather showed up, like 6-7 months after he died, in color. And it takes a lot of energy for a spirit to show up in color like that. But I was home alone, me and the family dog, and my grandfather appeared, and I grabbed the dog and I ran outside. I was frightened, totally frightened at 13 years old, not understanding what I just saw. And as it turned out, I learned that my mother had the ability and my grandfather had the ability, and one of my cousins, my mother's cousins, had the ability. So it runs in the family, so people should know that. But you can also develop your ability as well. If you don't think you have ability, it's really about being aware and being in tune with yourself. So.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel that you were the weird kid in class because of it?
Well, I honestly never thought about it after that much. When I spoke to my mother about it and I found out that she had the ability but was afraid to use it, I just kind of put it in the back of my mind and just thought, okay, all right, that's interesting. I'm just going to get involved with growing up and trying to figure out what I want, and then over time, I would have very isolated incidents. My aunt kept coming to me after she passed away, begging me to get forgiveness from my mother because they had a kind of a love-hate sister relationship. And I wound up living in a house that was haunted by what turned out to be I think it was a Confederate soldier.
Oh, wow.
When I was going to school for meteorology. This soldier liked to continually pound on the back door at 2:30 in the morning on Tuesday nights.
Why?
I had no idea. This was back in the late 90s. It was enough to scare the crap out of me, though, I'll tell you. And the one day that I figured out that he was inside the house instead of outside the house was when I was home studying at night by myself, and I walked in the kitchen and all the cabinets were open.
No. Ooh, that gives me chills, man.
Yeah, that freaked me out.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
but fortunately, I was only in school for a while there, so it only took me a year to get my degree from that, living in that house, and I was gone. But I did find out that there was a roommate prior to me that had lived there with a dog, and the roommate moved out suddenly. Of course, I found this out after I confronted the guy that owned the house. He told me only after I had moved in. And the dog was very sensitive to the ghost, of course, because dogs, as we'll discuss later, dogs and cats have the physiology where they can actually see ghosts and spirits, and they can hear them because they hear at different frequencies and they see at faster movement.
I got to tell you, my dogs must be very used to it yet now because they don't even tune in. It's like it's second hat for them.
Well, it seems to me that you have a couple of fur kids on the other side. So after a while, they do get used to it. I will tell you, though, that sometimes they get freaked out. And for the folks that are listening, here's what's important about a pet being able to sense a ghost or a spirit. And by the way, there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost, I think, is earthbound, and a spirit is one that's crossed over. So if ghosts choose a fixed location that they're going to basically haunt, if you will, and they really can't move around from there. But spirits of your loved ones will come and visit anywhere you are. They'll join you on vacation. They'll take a drive with you. They'll go to whichever place you move, and that includes pets that pass too. But when a pet sees a visiting spirit, they can see them, but often it takes too much energy for the spirit to generate smell, and scent is what dogs and cats rely on. So when they see a spirit, they can't smell it. It's confusing and alarming to them, so they may be skittish. That makes sense?
Okay, this leads to a couple questions, if you don't mind. What about aliens? Because I know that we have caught my son looking into doorways, and you can see the figures there, and my dog and my son will be looking right at that figure until the figure leaves. And I know that we get a lot of ET contact around here at times, and my dogs do nothing. They don't care. They're kind of like, whatever. Again.
That's interesting. I don't know. I've never encountered one myself. So, but if they don't have any sense at all, then it would be confusing. Because even dogs and cats who are blind, they really don't. They act like they're not even blind half the time, because they rely strictly on scent.
Makes sense. The other question I have for you, and this will be my last personal question, is about 4.5 weeks ago, I started, maybe 5 weeks ago, either way, around that timeline, I started seeing a shadow of a ghost dog. And what's weird is I have a black German Shepherd named Shadow, and this ghost shadow looks exactly like my shadow. I've seen him 3 times, and about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I brought the dogs in, closed the door, and then I heard how my dogs would bump against the door and scratch at the door to come on in. What the heck is that?
So did you have a dog that looked like him that passed?
No,
you did not.
No, he's just showed up in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I have a patio that I'll let the dogs out on the patio, and then they'll run down and they'll go do their business. And the first time I saw him, I was on the patio, and I called my one dog. Doug came up. I called Shadow to come up, and I looked down because it was dark out, so I had my flashlight on my iPhone, and I see this shadow that looks exactly like, and Shadow's a purebred German Shepherd, my dog, but this shadow, I know, confusing, that's walking in front of me underneath my light, has the same body, the same speed that he's walking like, okay? And I watch him kind of fade off. I'm like, come on, Shadow, let's go upstairs. Come on. And he kind of walked off and disappeared. Like, we're talking like 2-3 steps ahead, and he, poof, vanished.
And it was the spirit.
It was the spirit. And then my dog comes through my carport, which lights up my my sensor light, and then comes running up the stairs, and I'm like, hold on. If you're here, what was that? What was that? And then about a week later, 2 weeks later, I am underneath my carport, and I call my dogs, and I see what looks like my dog, Shadow, walking along my fence. But it wasn't Shadow. It was the ghost Shadow. And my dog came from the other side of my fence, and because I'm standing right there by the gate, and he comes wandering in. And then the third time I saw him from up on the patio again, and he was up by my trees. The problem was when I called for him, I looked down to see where my dog Doug was, and my shadow dog was sitting right beside Doug in the snow.
Interesting. Okay. Well, there are two things. There are two possibilities here, and one is that it is a dog that had passed in the area, and kind of has taken on kind of a pack mentality to your shadow, your living dog Shadow, and follows Shadow outside. You've never seen the dog inside, right?
No.
The Shadow.
He did
dog.
try to get in, but here's my thing. I deal with enough woo on a nightly basis, okay, that I don't know if this is a shadow dog or a shadow dog that isn't supposed to be let in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my feeling is that it's really just the ghost of a dog that passed away that hasn't crossed over, that is kind of stranded here and doesn't know what to do. So what he's doing is he's following your dog. It's kind of the pack mentality, and
Makes
then
sense.
Because he doesn't go in the house. That's why I asked if he went in the house, because if he didn't go in the house, then he doesn't know enough. He's not familiar with the house. He wasn't familiar with the house in life, so he just continues to wander around. And so I think he just needs to be crossed over.
Okay. But I don't have any hellhounds on my property. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, I wouldn't worry about that. What I would do is the next time you're out there, if it's not minus 20, I would try and concentrate and try and open a portal. Close your eyes and open a portal of light to take him to the other side.
Okay.
And then what I've done before, in order to cross dogs over, ghost dogs, is I would take a physical treat, and I would toss it into where I open the light. And I've seen dogs go after the treat. Just make sure you say it's a treat and toss it. And the dog will follow. The ghost dog will follow. Of course, after the ghost dog follows, your dog will probably follow and go get the treat after it falls on the ground.
Yeah, I know that'll happen. That'll happen. You see, my only concern was I didn't want it to be like a shadow being. You know what I'm saying? Where you're not supposed to allow shadow beings into your home because some bad juju can happen off of that. And I wasn't sure if this was a ghost dog or a shadow dog, okay, that could be something nefarious or shapeshifter.
Understood. My sense by reading energy, as a medium, I can read energy around the world. And usually I do it by looking at pictures of animals and people and so forth. But because I can actually see you, I can connect to where you are. So one of the interesting things that I've learned as a paranormal investigator and as a scientist too in my day job is that because the paranormal is really energy. What happens after we die is that the energies within us, coupled with memories, personality, and knowledge, and we choose to stay here earthbound as a ghost, or we cross over as a spirit. Now, these entities, whether here on Earth or crossed over, need more energy to communicate. So heat, light, water, electricity, or emotional energies. Ghosts draw on negative emotional energies. Spirits draw on positive emotional energies like love and faith and hope. But ghosts use fear, anxiety, and depression and so forth to get stronger. My point in saying all this is that if an earthbound ghost doesn't have enough energy, it cannot show up in full color. Instead, they appear as shadows. Because I look at ghosts and spirits as beings of energy that are like a light bulb that has a very, very small, dim charge. So you can only see like the outline of the light bulb. And then when it gets enough energy, you can see it in color. And I think that's what's going on there with your ghost dog.
Oh, okay. Because I'm all about trying to figure this out, man. I don't want anything poor to happen, because like I said, we got a lot of stuff that happens here at SOR headquarters, and as I'm sure you could pick up, and don't be surprised if all of a sudden you see some orbs or something flying around in the background. But I will tell you this. It is something that is very interesting, very intriguing, and as we have about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, I got to tell you, I don't get rattled often, okay? I really don't. But this dog, as much as I thought it was like really cool, I just wasn't sure about whether or not it was nefarious or not. So for you to tell our public, if you don't mind, what or how do we as the public who may not be familiar with our own kinetic abilities, okay, how do we know whether or not things are good from the other side?
Well, it's really about trusting your feelings. I like to quote Star Wars and say, "Trust your feelings, Luke." We always have a gut feeling about whether something's good or bad, and usually if it was not a being that has good intentions or wanted to commit harm, you would be able to sense that, and you would be scared, and your dog's shadow would be scared also. And it doesn't sound like that's happening. No.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good.
I think this dog is the ghost of a dog, an earthbound ghost of a dog that likely died in the woods somewhere, and has just been wandering, trying to figure out where to go.
So do we make them welcome? Do we want them to stay?
Well, you really want them to cross over because they don't belong here. So that's why I said try to picture a light opening and concentrate and try to cross the dog over, because he's really looking for his loved ones.
Oh, wow. Right. And who knows if his loved ones are still around or not. That's something that's part of the mystery, I guess.
That is part of the mystery. But even if his loved ones are still alive, once you try to envision a portal of light, that energy will actually connect to his energy and someone on the other side that's connected to him, whether it be a relative of the person that he was in the family of, something like that. So energy is kind of weird because it acts like a spider web, and it can go out to anybody that's connected to him.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Rob, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We are talking pets that have crossed to the other side. Can we connect? We're going to learn more from the very talented author, Rob Gutro. You can find all of his books by going to robgutro.com. Gutro is spelled Gutro, robgutro.com. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, we're clear. That was a fast half hour, man.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't believe we went through a half hour already.
Oh, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I literally, when I saw this dog, the first time I saw it, it was like, okay, that's cool, because it's not like that stuff hasn't happened. The second time I saw it, I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's back. The third time, I was like, really? Like, it's up by the trees right now? And then when it tried to get into the house, I was like, I'm not letting you in. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's
But now I feel sad that I didn't, because it's probably cold.
Well, he can't feel temperature, but I think that there's a lot of emotion too. I mean, we keep our emotions too as earthbound ghosts, and that ghost he's just lonely, and he wants affection and connection. So that's another reason why it needs to be crossed over.
Right. Well, if I see him again, I will do that. Okay.
Okay.
Because I've done that before.
Being a ghost is to me actually, when people choose to be a ghost or pets choose to be a ghost, it's like choosing an earthbound hell, because you're really trapped in isolation, and there's no way for you to communicate with people for the most part, unless you're fortunate enough for someone to A, see you as a shadow, or B, someone to be sensitive, like a medium. Otherwise, you can talk and bark and do anything you want from the other side, and you are just totally going to be ignored for the rest of your eternity. It's just very depressing for earthbound ghosts.
Yeah, that's not cool. That's not cool.
So I think he's just looking for attention. He wants some interaction. He's probably very lonely.
That makes sense. Well, if I see him again, I will definitely call him over, give him some love, and then send him off to the light.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm glad we have you on, because that kind of confirms things for me. So I appreciate you doing that. Kat, where did you send your questions, Kat? Hey, Mental Pancakes, how are you? So I'll just wait for that. But we've got about 2.5 minutes here. We've got a few new people in our YouTube chat, especially right now. I just want to let you guys know that we are not a podcast. We're a live radio show. And so we are on commercial right now with the radio stations, so that way they know where to cut in and out. So if you're wondering, hey, what are you guys BSing about? You're not doing a real interview or anything like that right now. That's because we do have the terrestrial side of the radio to work with as well. It's all bundled up into one package. So if you are new here, please do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers before May 24th. Why May 24th? That'll be my birthday, and that's the birthday present I want for myself is 15,000 subscribers, and we're about 4,400 away. 4,400 away. So I think it's possible. I really do think it's possible. And, so I appreciate all of you tuning on in. Sorry, Rob, I had to get that in there.
No, that's good. That's a good plug. I'm going to try and help you out.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's kind of cool. We came like less than 100 shy. I wanted 10,000 by January 1st, and on January 2nd we hit 10,000. So it's just kind of putting it out there, putting it out to the universe. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And Dave, before I forget,
man,
I meant to congratulate you, because I read somewhere this past summer that your show is one of the top 30 ranked all-time paranormal programs.
Really? Where?
Yeah. Where?
It's
around the world. I don't remember where I read that, but you you were in the top 30.
I didn't even know.
I remember blogging about it this summer. I have to go back and look.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I wish whoever did that would have told me. That would have been kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Hold on, my friend. We're going to go on here in 5 seconds. Jenny, thank you so much for that lovely super chat, by the way. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we continue on with author Rob Gutro. He is a psychic medium who communicates with animal spirits. I mean, is there a better job in the world than communicating with animal spirits, especially if you're into the paranormal, supernatural? I think not. I really don't. Rob, you got the best job ever, man.
Yeah, if only I could get paid for it. Yep. No, it is. It really is awesome to speak to animals, because the number of things that they have told me just totally shocked me. And I'll share something with you today that just happened today. I finished working at around 5 o'clock, and I decided I was going to check my email. Yeah, now I do readings. If people want them, I do very limited readings. They can find out how to do that on my website. But so this woman that I don't know, I don't know where she lives. She sent me a picture of a cat, and she said she's devastated. Her cat had passed and so forth, and wanted to know if there were any messages or whatever. So the cat wound up sharing his entire personality with me. And cats and dogs can do that. They also shared with me the way that he passed. So I started feeling like kidney failure, and I started feeling actual pain in my kidneys. Long story short, one thing that stuck out was the cat kept saying the word MALA to me, Mala. And I'm sitting here at the computer, and I'm responding to her, and I said, I have no idea what this means, and she's going to think I'm crazy. So I wrote it. When Spirit tells me something, I just have to write it. So I wrote it, and I sent it to her. She wrote me back within 30 minutes or an hour. I was eating dinner, and I got a message, and I saw it was her, and she wrote, I am so blown away by this. She said her cat used to sleep with her in her room, and she has a little altar in her bedroom. Now, I have again, I don't know what country she's from. I don't know what religion she practices or whatever. I don't know anything about her. But she said, I would say my daily prayers, and I would use the Mala prayer to open my ceremony every day, or my prayer every day. And I'm thinking, I have no idea what that is. And she said, I am so blown away that you were able to hear that word from her. And I mean, even right now, I don't know what it is, but it was highly personal to her and to the cat. And she said the cat would always be there when she prayed. So the cat would know that word. Isn't that crazy?
Very cool. Very cool.
That just happened tonight.
Wow. I got to ask you, when you're communicating with animals, what do their voices sound like? Do you hear the voices? Like, I could just imagine, all of a sudden you have a dog, like a little chihuahua that has a voice like Barry White, Come here, baby. Let's have a little talk, Rob. Over by the fire.
That would be funny. That would be great. It's it's like a voice with no tone. It's all telepathic. So I don't really hear them that way. I just know what they're thinking. I think it's kind of mind to mind. And it's funny that you mentioned that number one, you had a Dachshund Chihuahua mix, because one of our two dogs is a Dachshund Chihuahua mix.
It's a great mix, eh?
It is, yeah. And his name is Dash. That's the name he came with 2 years ago. He's 13 years old. We adopted him as a senior. Great name for a little Dachshund Chihuahua mix, because he does dash around. But one of the very first messages that I got as a medium from a pet that was not my own dog. My own dog, Buzz, by the way, passed in 2005. He was tragically killed by a car in front of me.
Sorry.
I was walking him, and his leash opened. And yeah, you never forget that. But Buzz became the world's best canine communicator from the afterlife, and he inspired me, Dave. He inspired me to write my first book and to teach other people how pets communicate. So Buzz, after about a year of getting all these messages and writing them down, I was able to start formulating a book. But the first dog outside of Buzz to communicate with me was a little Chihuahua, and his name was Chico. And I will never forget it. He told me something that really gave me great understanding for all of the listeners here. That is, if you have another dog, if you bring another dog into your house after your dog passes, even a cat, doesn't matter. Your dog or cat in spirit will come back, and they will train your new dog or cat to do a habit that they did when they were alive. So it's not that your new dog or cat is reincarnated. It's that they are learning habits from your dog or cat in spirit. And Chico told me that. And I knew that. I was able to confirm that because Chico, first of all, pointed out the woman in the audience that was – I was at a medium event. And so I stopped a woman and I said to her, "Do you have a big black dog that's alive?" And she said, "I do. How do you know that?" And I said, "Because I'm a medium." And I said, "Because a little Chihuahua named Chico here is telling me that he's been training your dog." And she freaked out.
That is hilarious. And I kind of got caught in a daydream there for a quick second, Rob, because here I'm trying to think, okay, what traits do my dogs have from my previous animals, or even my cats have from my previous animals? And let's see. The two cats in the house both like me, which is odd. Okay.
It's a good start.
The one dog, because Doug I've had since he was 8 months old. He is nothing like my previous dog, nothing. And then Shadow we adopted a couple of years ago from a friend of mine, and he was kind of like, well, Shadow's just Shadow. He just does his own thing. That's all I'm going to say. He just does his own thing, and he's really cool about it, and we're really cool with him, But I can't see any traits, and now I'm looking, and now I'm going to be honest. This is going to cause me anxiety because now I'm going to want to know, Rob.
Well, the other thing too about this is that they don't necessarily train them good habits that they had. They can also train them bad habits that they had. So
I love this question from Greco. Normally I don't ask audience questions until hour number 2, but I don't want to forget this one. He's saying, will ghost dogs still lick their butts?
Well, they may. Certainly they continue to do what they did in the physical. So I'm sure they find it easier.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I had to get that in there. But no, the fact that you have pets that are communicating, do our pets, when they cross over, are they able to come back?
Sure. So what happens is, I think about 95% of our pets cross over and become a spirit. Um, and there's the reason for that, Dave, is that our human loved ones and our pets that have passed are all waiting on the other side, and they're there at the end to help them cross over. So as a spirit, so ghosts are earthbound in a fixed location of their choosing. They can't really go anywhere. I mean, there are exceptions. I mean, they can attach themselves to someone, which is very rare. But for the most part, they stay put. Spirits can go anywhere, anytime, any place. So a couple of examples for you. Number one, in 2009, I was my husband and I were on vacation in Puerto Rico. We went to San Juan, and we were walking around. We came to a big square where there was a lot of different ways you could go. I think there were 5 or 6 streets. We went down one street. I felt an urge to go down one street. We get to the end of the street. There was a dog walker. That dog walker had one of the dogs was a Weimaraner. My dog Buzz that passed away was a Weimaraner. This dog looked like Buzz. Same coloration, same green eyes and so forth. And suddenly, looking at that dog, I heard my Buzz say to me, "Dad, remember what today is?" I wasn't even thinking about it. It was February 22nd. It was the anniversary of his passing. So Buzz led me to that dog that looked like him, that reminded me of him, to let me know on the anniversary of his passing that he's still very much with me. And anniversaries are a big thing with spirit. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays is when they come around.
I can see that. I can see that. Rob, you know, one of the things that really upsets me with dogs, and I got to admit, I'm more of a dog guy than I am a cat person, although I am starting to like cats, and that kind of freaks me out a little bit because maybe I'll grow into an old cat man. I don't know, right? But I got to tell you, the one thing I hate about having dogs is they don't last long enough. Okay, and
Yeah.
like I think of my old dog Abe. I gave him a good Mennonite name. Okay, he was the perfect dog. I never had to leash him. You know, God, the only time he really flipped out was when I asked him if he wanted to go fishing, and he was at my vehicle faster than I could even get my fishing rod out the front door. You know, and I think about him a lot, and you know, I think we all do with our pets that cross on over, and you too as well. But the one thing that I feel really ripped off at is how short dogs' lifespans are. I hate that. And, you know, I realize it's short-term power love with a dog, but for many of us, it's just not enough, man. It's just not enough.
I totally agree with you, and I think that's part of the reason why it is so emotionally traumatic for us to lose a pet. So I always tell people that the only difference between bringing up a dog, and this goes for cats too, but the only difference is that, you know, well, first of all, we take them to school. We teach them how to get along well with others. We teach them how to go to the bathroom. We teach them words. We teach them when it's dinner time and how to be good, and we give them treats and teach them how to interact socially. So they grow up, they go to school, they learn how to be good citizens, and they pass away. And I love to say that the only thing, unlike human children, they don't grow up and marry someone we hate and then move away. That's the only difference in my mind between a human child and a pet child. Um, so because we still look at them as children because they have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old human child, even at like 15, 16 years old. It is like losing a human child for many of us who don't have human children. Um, and in my Pets in the Afterlife 3 book, I actually talk about that. And a good friend of mine who is a medical psychologist wrote a chapter for me about how to deal with the grief and the loss, because it does feel like losing a child to many of us.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I know that my dog Abe, when I was doing a lot of channeling and learning about all of these experiences, I remember one time when I actually channeled my dog Abe from the other side, and he had been gone at that time for about 4 years. And he never said a thing. I never heard him, but he showed me this incredible vision. And to this day, I will never get that vision out. It was, like you said, about a telepathic message. This one was very visual. It was pretty much, I'm waiting for you. And he was showing me a picture where I was standing behind him on my spiritual side here, my awakened side. And then he was sitting in front of me in sand where I was fishing in a lake at sunset in front of him.
Wow.
And here I was in like about not chest deep, but about waist deep in water, fishing into the water. And there he was sitting there watching me fish like he loved to do.
So he's pretty much around you, watching you do anything.
Yeah.
And when you have kind of whether it's a dream or like a visit type of experience like that, the reason they convey those kinds of scenes is not that it's reality. It's that it will bring us peace, letting us know that they're in a peaceful place. Although, some mediums will say that, dogs will be running through grass and they have sunshine on their backs and all that. But they're really beings of energy on the other side. We're all beings of energy on the other side. So, I've never encountered anybody that has a job on the other side. Their job really is to watch over us and guide us. And some of our pets on the other side become our spirit guides.
Mm-hmm. No, I can see that. But the message that I got from it was almost like, hey, Dad, I'm waiting to go fishing. I've got the spot. Like, it was just so peaceful and just this beautiful piece of zen that my dog is waiting to have that moment on the other side. And I'll be honest with you, when I finally do die, hopefully it's not for a while, but when I finally do die, I want to go fishing with him, man. Like, it's like I have this great opportunity. Like, okay, well, I got every day I'm a day closer to going fishing with my dog. And it actually cheers me up a little bit, man. It cheers me up.
And I think that was the entire point of that vision right there, is to cheer you up and bring you peace. Because that's one of their jobs on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. We got about 5 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Pet communicator Rob Gutro is here. RobGutro.com is his website. We will take audience questions if you're in our chat rooms or on Twitter after the break at the top of the hour. Rob, when we're communicating with our pets and we feel their presence around, is it any different, say, from feeling grandma or mom or dad or an aunt or uncle or a friend?
It really isn't, because it's really about love. Love is the thing that binds us together with our pets and the people that we love. Unless, there are people on the other side that we really didn't love or really didn't like per se. But it is a comforting feeling. And Dave, one thing I want to mention to you that we touched upon this earlier is that when our pets pass, our loved ones are there to help guide them over. And I'd like to give you an example of that, where I actually saw our loved ones.
Oh, please.
So when I was writing Pets in the Afterlife 3, our dog Dolly, who's a Weimaraner, passed in October of 2020. She was almost 16 years old, and she was the joy of my life. And I had a very tight bond with her, adopted her from a rescue as a puppy. At the end of her life, she was incontinent with number 1 and number 2, and she had to sleep in the kitchen. She had a diaper, but that last night, one of the discs on her spine was starting to slip, and it slipped so extreme within 24 hours, we had to make that decision in one day. So I knew that, and I slept in the kitchen with her on the floor that night. And 3 o'clock in the morning, she got up. She raised her head because she couldn't really stand up. And she kept staring at a door in the kitchen. And I kept trying to get her to lay down. I didn't understand what was going on until I finally looked over there at the door. And there at the door, I saw my mom and dad in spirit, and our friend Ed, and our other dogs who had passed, and they were all standing there at the door. And that let me know that it was the day, it was time, and they were going to all be there for Dolly. I got a text message from my friend Ruthie, the Beantown medium, Ruth Larkin, the next day, and she said, "Rob, I want you to know that I think your mom and dad, and there was another younger man that was next to them, and your 2 dogs in spirit were all there when Dolly passed." And I just lost it.
I wouldn't blame you.
I said, Ruthie, I wrote her back and I said, Ruthie, those are exactly the people and the pets that I saw at the door this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Dolly saw them too. So,
wow.
yeah.
That is powerful, my friend. And just hearing the emotion in your voice on how that entire message touched you personally, I mean, that is just, that's the type of story I think for a lot of people who have fear about the afterlife, they need to hear stories like that or experience that for themselves, so that way they get some comfort of it, just like you got comfort from it.
Yeah, I did. It was really it was comforting. I mean, it was incredibly emotional, and to see my parents and our friend Ed in spirit. They don't show up very often at all, but they wanted to let me know that they were going to be there for her. I'm still an emotional train wreck, but she was my baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing this is radio.
Oh, for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think we can all get to that connection and feel that heartfelt connection that you were going through with that as well, Rob. And I think it just shows your genuine honesty that, this is personal for you, both on your own level and your spiritual level to helping others as well. And I think that's worth commending. I really do believe that is.
Yeah, it's incredibly personal, and it was Buzz, my first dog that passed, that made it personal, and he's the one that opened the door. So, and right. I have to tell you, Dave, I've been able to bring comfort to people all over the world, from places I've never even heard of.
Well, Rob, we're going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We're going to continue with Pet Psychic. Rob Gutro, robgutro.com. You can find all of his books there as well. We'll be back right after this. My friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey, space travelers, this is John
All
Resnick.
right, I'm back. Let's go here. Hey, Fast Hemi, how you doing? Jennifer, good night to you, and thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Much love. Have a good sleep and a great weekend. Let's go here. Who have we missed? Hey, Olin, how you doing? John Doe, good to see you. Bug, how are you? I should not have had that pizza for dinner. Should not have had that pizza for dinner. Oh, Jennifer, getting a message from Rob. Please let your son know that Amber just wanted to say hello from heaven, and let your son know that she's okay, and we'll protect him now from spirit. It is what they do from the other side. Beautiful message, Rob. Beautiful message.
Thank you, Dave. It's really important that folks know that when they do see their pet in spirit, that that is the reason why they've come back.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it. Love it. God, you're good. You're so good.
I just convey stuff.
I have a beautiful story from one of your clients who says you can use it on the air. I'll wait till we get on the air. And she absolutely loves you. So I will bring this up when we come back from the break.
Okay. I'm curious.
You got to wait another 40 seconds.
Okay.
Plus the intro. Oh, I'm such a tease. Look at me tease. All right. There we go.
Oh, I see a question there in the chat from Bomber. I'd be happy to answer that question, Dave.
We'll get to the questions here momentarily. And thank you, Jenny, for the super chat. It's a great way to support what we do. Thank you to everyone who's given us a thumbs up, thumbs down, and all the newbies who've hitting that subscribe button. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. We say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Umbelliferous. Umbelliferous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with author Rob Gutro. You can find all of his books, including his brand new book called Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Dog Spirits, by going to robgutro.com. He is one of the highly sought-after psychic mediums to communicate with pets on the other side. I highly suggest you find out all the information that you can from Rob. Rob, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me back for hour number 2.
All right, let's start with a story from Beth in Dallas, Texas. She says, Rob helped me so much when my Weimaraner, Willie, passed away in 2019. My boy sent me the best sign this week. Rob could share the story if he wants. I'd be happy to share, but don't believe my audio is working correctly. Rob is worth whatever the cost is for a reading. Thank you so much, Rob. Do you remember Beth from Dallas?
I do. I do remember her, and I do remember Willie. I can't remember the
is it Wiley or Willie?
Sign.
Wiley or Willie?
I'm sorry, Wiley.
Yes. I may have got that wrong.
It's late. Gosh, I have to tell you, I have communicated with literally tens to hundreds of thousands of pets on the other side. I would rather that she share the story in her own words, because it makes it more.
Well, we'll get Beth to type it out, and then I'll read it to you when she does. Let's go to Bomber's question. Bombshell Bomber is asking, I had to put my 20-year-old cat down 3 nights ago. The vet sedated him, and I got to talk to him for a few minutes before the final injection. Did he hear me? Did he understand me?
Yes, and first of all, Bomber, you have my deepest condolences. Losing a 20-year-old pet is just it's just heartbreaking, and the sense of emptiness that you feel also is something that really is difficult to cope with afterward. But do know that your cat is around in spirit. So the answer to your question is yes. He did absolutely hear you, and he sensed you too, and he also smelled you in the room as well. He smelled your scent. So he was very comforted by all of those things. And he was also very grateful to you that you found the strength to do that for him, to be there for him. Because the last person a pet wants to see before they pass is their pet parent. I will tell you though, for those folks who have come home and their pet had passed, they don't want you to feel guilty, because a pet will also for those pets that pass and you're not there, they do that on purpose. It's just like people. Some people want a whole bunch of people around them when they pass. Other people do not want anybody around them when they pass. My mother didn't want anybody. She waited until everybody left the room, and then she passed like 5 hours later. But don't feel guilty if you're not there, because our pets will sometimes choose to pass on their own. And the reason they do that is because they know that if you were there, it would be a memory that you would never be able to purge. And it would be a bad memory to you and very traumatic. And they don't want you to remember them that way. So, but otherwise, when we take our pets into a vet, or we have a vet come to the house to help them pass peacefully, they're very grateful that we're there for them. So it's really all about their personal choice.
All right. And let's go on here. Kat is asking, as a meteorologist, Rob, do you see a correlation with people who get weather migraines and who are sensitives?
That's a good question. Fortunately, I don't have weather migraines, but it does make sense, because really it's all about energy, and I think the migraines are brought on by the change in pressure, certainly, and I think there's a correlation there. Sensitive people. And also, too, you have to understand that there's a lot of energy in storms. So, by the way, a little factoid for you. The temperature of a lightning bolt is hotter than the surface of the sun. The sun gets hotter as you go out into the heliosphere. But lightning is that hot. There's that much energy in there. So, there you go.
Well, there you go. All right, another question. This one coming from Sparky. She is asking, Rob, what process do you use to cross over animal ghosts?
Oh, we touched upon that in the first hour. And I've only had to do that a couple of times. So because animals as ghosts behave the same way that they did when they were alive, you have to treat them that way as ghosts. So that said, what you have to do is you have to concentrate enough, and usually it takes a number of people to pool their energies together, their emotional energies, to open a portal of light to the other side. And what I've done is, once I connect that pet, that dog or cat, to a person that related to them on the other side, I will take a treat and I will throw it into the light. And I have watched ghost dogs go into the light by doing that trick.
Wow. Do you feel anything like internally in yourself when this goes on?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'm a very emotional guy. Mediums are often very emotional anyway. That's what gives us the ability to tap into energies. And being a medium really is it's being able to read energies of people and pets who passed. And by the way, there's a difference, Dave, between a psychic and a medium. I am really not a psychic, because a psychic can tune into energies of past, present, and future. And I don't have that ability. So I can't tell you, whether to take a job offer or not. That would be more of a psychic. I just talk to people and pets who passed. So I'm a medium, or a medium rare, if, I'm not well done yet.
I think you're still too young and handsome to do that, my friend. I will say that.
Yeah, that's because you can't see me on video. Thank you, though.
All right. G-Girl is asking, are my cats around me, and how can I tell?
Okay, so yes. Yes, your cats will be around you. They're not going to be around you all the time, and that's the trick with spirit. So spirits only come to us when they have something to tell us, or around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. And as we talked about before in hour number 1, that our pets on the other side are able to tune into our emotional energies. And when our emotional energies are higher, like we're happier, birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays generally do that. That's when they come to visit. So there's so many ways that pets can let us know they're around. So Dave, you and I talked about seeing shadows. You and I talked about feeling the pressure of them on your leg. I talked about how pets will lead us to another pet that looks like them. You may hear someone mention the pet's name when they're talking to somebody else about something totally disconnected. You may hear their nails on the floor. You may hear a collar jingle. You may see a dish move. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine up in Baltimore just wrote that her dog passed away, and she watched the dog's dish go from one part of the room to the other, and it freaked her out. But there was no other dog in the room.
Wow.
So they'll move stuff. They'll do that too. So those are just some of the ways. But in Pets in the Afterlife 3, I've even shared how dogs, with human help, even used social media to send a sign. And I can tell you that story too.
Oh, you have to tell me that story.
You want me to tell it right now?
Yeah, we're right here. We're doing an interview. Probably a good idea.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had another question. All right. So back in 2019, a gentleman named Dan wrote me about his dog Romeo. And so I gave him a reading, and he totally got it. So I wound up befriending him. And so Dan is the kind of guy that he has a full-time job, but he works at an animal shelter. And so he's my kind of guy. He's a great guy. He just loves animals more than anything. Needless to say, when you work in an animal shelter, you get attached. Well, he got attached to this one rescue dog that came in, this one dog that was abandoned by his family. And this little dog's name was Kuzco, Kuzco. He bonded with this dog, and he would go in every day, and he would spoil the dog and give belly rubs and do walks and all that stuff. And when COVID hit in March 2020, they gave him the option of fostering the dog. But because he works like 10-hour days, he couldn't do it. He didn't think it was fair to the dog, and he's by himself. So a foster family came in, took the dog, and the dog wound up passing away within a couple of months because the heartworm damage the dog suffered was so intense, and Dan was devastated. Long story short, Dan was on his Facebook page, and the rescue that he works with, that he volunteers with, had put together a little video. And as he scrolled by the Facebook page, there was Kuzco's face on that video. Now, first of all, there's no such thing as a coincidence when it comes to spirit. When spirit wants to give you a sign, they will make sure you see them, see a picture of them or someone that looks like them or something. But here's the weird thing. I watched that video. That little dog, Cusco, does not appear in that video until like 1 minute and 43 seconds in. But yet on Dan's, and he wasn't there on the freeze frame for me. On Dan's computer, that was the frozen picture when he brought up that video.
Wow.
So no such thing as a coincidence.
Destiny, my friend. Destiny.
So there you go. Even social media.
That is
Pets
wicked.
can use. And they usually get help from the other side to do that kind of thing.
All right. Let's get some more audience questions here. Armando is asking, does my dog Sparky forgive me for accidentally tying him to a tree without water?
Yes. As long as you didn't make a habit out of it. No, the dogs are extremely forgiving. They know that we as humans get easily distracted, because even as dogs, they get easily distracted by like squirrel. And we forget to do everything that we're supposed to do. So.
All right. John is asking, what animals don't have a soul?
That's like a hot button question right there for me. Every living thing has a soul. I mean, I think there are some people that don't have souls, but that's a different story. So what is a soul? This is my big hot button question. A soul is the energy within us, any living thing, coupled with memories, personality, and knowledge. Animals have had memories, personality, and knowledge since the dawn of time. They learned to live long before humans ever showed up and, decimated the planet. So, every living thing has a soul. And at the end of our lives, we choose to stay as a ghost, earthbound, or we cross over as a spirit.
Makes
Does that
sense.
answer your question?
I think it does. Let's go to Shar's question. Shar is asking, I had a horse stolen that I searched for. I'm sure she has passed now. Rob, is there any way you can know what happened now that she passed and how much I loved her?
Sure. So if you have a picture of your horse, it would take me some time to do a reading, like to try and tune into the horse's energy. So I would need the horse's name. I would need a picture of the horse, and then you can send me your question there. You can see, on my website there, petspirits.com or robgutro.com, you can see on the top right corner about readings.
All right, let's move over to Essex Ghost Investigations, who is asking, Rob, do our animal spirit guardians choose us, or do we have to choose them?
Oh, that's a good question. The spirit guardians really choose us. And usually spirit guides or spirit guardians, whatever you want to call them, their sole purpose is to really help us lead a better life and make the right choices. So sometimes our pets will become our spirit guides. I do know that Buzz, my dog Buzz, the Weimaraner, who passed in 2005, has become a spirit guide to me. I know that I have a male spirit guide too. His name is Joshua. And you can find out your spirit guide, by the way, by doing any kind of online meditations that will take you through like forested areas and come to a beach and so forth. And then you just picture who's in front of you. And that usually will reveal your spirit guide. That's how I wound up doing it.
Very cool. Kat is asking, do our pets have names other than what we give them?
For this lifetime, and even when they're in spirit, they still go by the name that you give them. We all come back. We all come back. And when we come back, we are still connected in some way. We may not be connected exactly as we are now. And we'll all get different names. But for the most part, yeah, once we pass, we keep the name that we have on Earth, because it's also easier for spirit to identify us as well on the other side.
Another question from John. Usually wears a Stetson while he's listening to the show. He's asking, if you are not sensitive normally to a past animal, could you see and communicate more easily with them during your own out-of-body experience?
Sure. Yeah. So when you're, I haven't had an out-of-body experience, but when you do, your energy is not bound to the constraints of the physical form, and that means that you're able to be in touch with the other energies that are around, and spirits are energy. So the answer would be yes.
Very cool. Very cool. I do have to ask, because for the most part, cats are cranky, they're finicky. Half the time they don't like being pet. Half the time they give you the evil stink eye, like you have the nerve to talk to me. Are cats the same on the other side?
Well, they do maintain their personalities, Dave. So if you have a cat that's kind of that way in life, they're going to be that way in death as well, or the afterlife, I should say. So, yeah. What's interesting too is that sometimes when I do readings and a cat or a dog will come through to me, and they will tell me that they're going to lead their pet parent to the next pet that they're going to adopt, because that's how it works. They will usually do that. In one case, I think there was this dog. I think the dog's name was Charlie. I can't remember. But he was kind of a funny dog, and so he told me, and I put this in a reading to the pet parent, that he was going to lead their pet parent to another dog, but he didn't want their pet parent to adopt another male dog. He wanted to be the only male dog in the family. So he said they must adopt a female dog.
Wow, that's a little arrogant. Yeah.
Well, it's a kind of little headstrong dog right there. But it's funny that what they say on the other side.
All right, Fast Hemi is asking, as we got about just over a minute 45, can pets be reincarnated souls of of lost family members?
That's a good question, and the answer, in my experience, is that no. Our pets will come back as other animals. Animals tend to stay in the animal kingdom, and people tend to stay in the human kingdom. So I don't think they ever cross the line, and you don't. Do you know anybody, by the way, that will try to bend over and lick themselves in the legs like a dog?
Well, there are hockey goaltenders out there, and they're awfully strange.
Okay, well, you got me on that one, but for the most part, I think we all come back, but we stay in our own kingdoms. Otherwise, we'd have habits of different animals as humans, and I haven't seen that.
What about how often do they reincarnate then?
So, yeah, that's a good question. And in my experience, for the most part, we all wait till everybody that we know, every contemporary in this life, has passed before we come back. And then we all come back together. There have been exceptions, certainly, if somebody's in a hurry to come back. But I don't know all the answers. I'll know all the answers when I'm on the other side. But
probably the best way to put it. Rob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Rob Gutro is our guest tonight, pet communicator with Pets on the Other Side. You can find all of his books at robgutro.com, including his latest, Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Spirit Dogs. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio after this. All right, we're clear. Some good questions from the audience tonight.
Yeah, there are. What is a team stump? I don't know what that means.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Okay, Devil's Tower in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on Team Stump, like it's a tree stump of life, or are you on Team Rock, like it's some big rock?
Oh, okay. All right.
What's your
Thanks
choice,
for clarifying
Rob?
that.
What's your choice?
Okay. What's my choice?
Yeah.
The Tree of Life would be my choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, one other big question that we have. What's your opinion on eating breakfast foods for dinner?
Oh, hey, I think I'm good with that. I like making scrambled eggs and sausage for dinner every now and then.
If you were near me, I'd throw a shoe at you right now. Totally would.
I haven't done it in a long time, but I will tell you that I do have an affinity and a weakness for Dunkin' Donuts egg sandwiches.
I have an affinity and a weakness right now for spicy burgers.
Oh boy, but wouldn't they do the same thing that pizza did to you tonight?
Probably. There's one thing I hate. I've always hated since I was a kid. Can't stand drinking milk. Just it's never sit well with me. But I can tell you right after the show, I'm having a glass of milk to get rid of this indigestion. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm lactose intolerant, Dave, so I can't do milk. But
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm sorry it's not sitting well with you.
Oh, that's all right. I'll get her back. That's okay. We still got a show to do. We'll be just fine.
We do. And it's. Are you a coffee drinker?
No.
No, you're a tea drinker then?
If I drink something hot, I will drink. But I'm picky with the tea. Okay, like I don't do any of this fancy stuff. You know, these peppermint teas or these chai teas or green teas. That's just too rebellious for me in life. I'm orange pekoe or Earl Grey. That's it. Good enough.
Okay. All right.
How about you, my friend?
I'm a coffee drinker. I grew up in the Boston area.
Oh, yeah.
And in New England, actually the city I grew up in is the home of Dunkin' Donuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Dunkin' Donuts was born. And so I grew up drinking coffee when I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I drink about, between 6 and 12 cups a day.
I can see that.
Pretty hyper guy.
Oh, man. You don't have Tim Hortons down there, but if you ever get a chance to try a Tim Hortons ice cap, that's heaven. That is heaven.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember my buddy in Florida, he kept on hearing me brag about these ice caps, right? And he's like, and he talks like this, like, if I ever find a Tim Hortons, I'm going to try one of those. And lo and behold, we're driving around. We're having a bunch of friends gather in Pittsburgh, and my friends wanted to try geocaching. So we decided, because Pittsburgh, you got Ohio right there and West Virginia right there. So we go into Ohio, and this small town in the middle of nowhere, we're driving, and all of a sudden, we look ahead of us, and by golly, there's a Tim Hortons sign there.
Wow.
In the middle of nowhere, Ohio. So we're like, pull in now. So Roger's like, I've never been to a Tim Hortons. What do I get? I said, Rog, you're going to get an ice cap. He goes, well, I'll just have a small one. I don't know what it's like. I'm like, no, you're getting a large, and you're going to thank me for it. So he orders it up. He gets his ice cap. So basically it's like a ice cappuccino ground up like a 7-Eleven Slurpee. Okay?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's heaven. It's heaven. And so Roger takes a big sip, and he's like, "It is heaven in my mouth right now." I said, "I can see your excitement." So him and his wife come up and visit us back in 2011 or 2012. He went to Tim Hortons, and he had 5 ice caps a day while he was here. Oh yeah. Gosh. Hold on, my friend. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with author Rob Gutro. He is an animal communication specialist with pets who have crossed over. You can find his latest book at robgutro.com. It's called Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Spirit Dogs. All right, I got to ask you about spirit dogs, my friend, because many of us are not going to know what that means. So fill us in.
Okay. It basically means that dogs, once they cross over into the light, they become a spirit. So that's it in a nutshell. And they, as a spirit, they're able to communicate with us any place, anytime, anywhere that we go. Whether in the car, whether you go on vacation, whether you drive to work, doesn't matter. They can be there with us at any time, and they'll usually let us know when they're there.
Rob, a lot of times with humans or spirit guides that are more like human form, we often hear stories that our spirit guides helped us out to keep us safe in a car accident or in a house fire or in a robbery or something along those lines that could be very, very traumatic. I think in my opinion, the best video I've ever seen of that was when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was stuck in his car. I don't know if you've ever seen this video, but he crashed his car catches on fire, and literally you see this spirit of a crew member helping him get out of the car before the rest of the before the rest of his crew and the fire team actually gets there. It's absolutely incredible, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually acknowledges that it happened. And so we're used to seeing that with people, but are pets the same way when they are in spirit form? Can they help guard us from that car accident when the airbag goes off, or if somebody's trying to break into our house?
Yes, they can. So if somebody's trying to break into your house, you may hear a bark or warning like that, or some kind of noise from the house, from the dog. So they absolutely can do that. In my first Pets in the Afterlife book, Pets in the Afterlife 1, there's a chapter that is written by a friend of mine who works with me at volunteering at Dachshund Rescue, and she conveyed this story that when she was a young girl, she was out in the forest, and there were like a wild bunch of dogs coming after her. I guess they were neighborhood dogs. But they were chased away by a ghost dog. And she knew the dog was not alive. But the dog was very protective. I think it was a German Shepherd. That coincidentally, that takes us full circle to the beginning of our conversation last hour. But she said, so in the story, she said that she didn't know what she was going to do. She was totally panicked. She was a young girl. She was running from these dogs that weren't leashed. And this German Shepherd showed up out of nowhere and then just disappeared after after she got away. Vanished. So, yes, they do protect us from the other side. Absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. G-Girl is asking, do our pets get a case file on us before they come into our lives? Oh, I love that question.
That is a good question. And my perception is that they do know what is going to happen in the physical, just like we know what challenges we're going to have before we come down here. You know, whether we come down here with you know, maybe born without an arm, or have some kind of challenge, like if we're bipolar, we know that those are the challenges that we're going to take on in this life, and we accept them so that we can grow as a soul. So pets do understand what, you know, the challenge that they are going to face. And they also know that when they're going to come into a family that may be neglectful, and they'll be moved or removed from that family and go to another family. So they know that challenge before they come. So great question.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah, it's something you really don't think about very often.
True.
But we do, you know, we do know what's in store for us in some way before we come down here. And then, of course, you know, our individual choices can change some things, but not entirely.
Rob, key question here for you, because, you know, a lot of religions out there say that pets don't have spirits, they don't go to heaven, they don't have. I mean, I can hear you snickering over that, which is fantastic. And I know you've been hit with this question 1,002 times, and I'll make it 1,003. You know, but I mean, is there a separate heaven and potentially hell for animals, or are pets just so pure and innocent that no matter if they were bad dogs on this life form, like say that wild dog that attacks a human or a child and kills it, you know, or whatever the situation may be, is there a heaven and hell specifically for animals, or do they share the same heaven and hell as we do?
They share the same places, but so I have a different idea of hell. I really don't think hell is a fiery place, you know, with little demons running around and all that. I think so. Heaven and hell were concepts that were created to make people behave better, because certainly nobody wants to go to a place like hell, that's for sure. But we all go to the same place, and into the light. And I look at hell as being an earthbound ghost, Dave, because like we talked about before, if you're an earthbound ghost, if you choose to stay here, you are in an eternity afterlife where you cannot communicate with anybody unless you're just lucky enough to bump into a medium as a ghost. And you've made a choice where you are living a life of isolation. And to me, that's hell. I mean, that's mental torture. That's worse than, you know, being in a fiery pit.
Unless you're an introvert.
Yeah, well, true. But I just, you know, that's just my feeling. But they all go to the same place. And yes, so getting back to the other part of the question is, animals have instincts to protect themselves. And also some animals were trained, some pets, some dogs were trained to attack and to hurt. And that fault lies with the human. Because, you know, I've seen pit bulls, for instance, grow up and be extremely docile. And then I've seen people raise pit bulls to attack and kill people. And, you know, it's what they learn. It's what they learned from the dumb humans that caused them to take on those behaviors.
Okay.
So I blame people.
Interesting, and I don't blame you for that because we probably should be blamed. I want to ask you, and I've never asked you this question before in the few interviews that we have done previous. But what about animals that are rescue dogs, okay? And I'm not saying dogs at the pound. I'm saying dogs that work for police forces or dogs that are out there sniffing out mines in war zones or, sniffing for dead people, or helping paramedics or whatever it may be. I mean, dogs have such an incredible array of talents that they're used. Do they carry any type of PTSD from those situations? Say a dog that's been in Afghanistan and now retired. Do they carry that in around and then potentially into the afterlife as well?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, they absolutely do suffer from PTSD, and I read a lot of studies about dogs as well, and because they have the same emotions that people have, and they suffer the same kinds of mental reactions to things. So, they are absolutely affected. We can experience that on one level when you have a dog that's afraid of fireworks. That's kind of an example of PTSD, something scary that startles them, and they just can't get through it. They can't get over it. What was the second part of your question?
Do they carry that over into the afterlife?
I don't think so. I think that just like people who have Alzheimer's in this life develop Alzheimer's or dementia, we lose that on the other side. We're able to think clearly. So I think that any kind of emotional or mental trauma that we endure here disappears. And actually, I have a story for you about a dog that did have dementia that came through to me.
Oh, well, love to hear it. Okay.
So pets can be very persistent when they want to get a message out. And in my Pets in the Afterlife 3 book, I talk about how I go up and down the East Coast, by the way. Well, this is pre-COVID and will be post-COVID, to animal rescues up and down the East Coast here, and anywhere that wants me to give lectures about how pets communicate from the other side. So, and I do them as fundraisers for animal rescues. So people will pay like a rescue, I don't know, $10 to go to lists, and all the money goes to the rescue. I don't ask for anything because I support all rescues. So anyway, I flew up to New Hampshire a couple years ago, and when the plane was landing, I kept hearing this little dog, and she kept saying, "My name is Missy," and she said, "Missy, Missy, Missy." do you hear me, Missy? I was like, I'm on a plane landing in New Hampshire, and here's a dog coming to me and telling me her name is Missy and that she has a message for me to give to her mother. So I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you later. I don't want to say anything out loud when I'm in a plane full of people. They're like, this guy's crazy. So I got in my rent car and I drove over to the rescue. And as soon as I get out of the car, that little dog was right there in spirit, telling me her name again and said, "You're going to see my mom. You're going to see my mom. You're going to see my mom." And I said, "Okay, all right, calm down." So I got in there. They opened the room early, like an hour before, and 2 women came in. They were very early, and they sat down. And the dog kept coming to me again. And I said, okay. So I looked at the 2 women, and I said, "Excuse me, are one of you the mother of a little dog named Missy that passed away?" And sure enough, one of them had a dog named Missy that had just passed away a couple of months before. And she was dumbfounded. she said, my friend brought me here. I didn't want to come here. She said, I'm too deep in grief for losing my dog. And she said, I didn't know what to think of this. And I said, well, Missy has a message for you. And I said, her message is that everything is clear now. Everything is good again. She can think clearly. And I said, does that make any sense to you? And she said, Missy passed away from dementia.
Oh, wow.
And she said, that's the message that I needed to hear. And when the room filled up, she sat up and she told everybody about Missy's message. and that just made my day. Because we just often just need just one little brief message from a spirit to give us that comfort, that closure that we need, knowing that they're okay on the other side.
All right. Beth updated us. Beth had the dog Wiley, who you came through to you 2 years ago. Wiley was so persistent that Rob actually picked up the phone, or you were so persistent that you picked up the phone and actually called Beth directly to convey Wiley's message of love and to let her know that he was around. This week, she says, I was particularly sad and missing Wiley so much. Wiley used energy this week to comfort me and send me love in the following way. He led me into a store that I used to visit on occasion. I had no intention of going into this store. After the store, I thought, why am I here? I turned down an aisle to exit the store and glanced randomly at the shelf to my right. On the shelf was a small sign that read, you can't buy love, but you can rescue it. My Weimaraner, was a rescue pet. No doubt this sign was from Wiley sending me his love, very comforting in a great time of need. So
Thank you, Beth, for emailing that because I would have messed it up. And that's true. And Beth, thank you so much for sharing that story with Dave in the audience, because that message is a great example of how spirit works. She had no inclination to go in that store, but yet she was kind of nudged, and she was nudged from Wiley in spirit, obviously. And she was also guided by Wiley in spirit to go down that aisle and to look at that sign when she was thinking of him. So she would get that message of comfort. There's no such thing as a coincidence when it comes to spirit.
Wow. That's just great. That's just great. You know, anytime we could get a message from our pets, I mean, we try to have that comfort, but for a lot of people, it goes beyond, dogs and cats. Do you specialize in pets outside of those? Like, are you going into reptiles or bunnies or horses or cows or goats?
Well, I can really only read domesticated pets. That is, animals that have lived with humans. And the reason is that they learn our habits and they read our emotions. They learn our language. They learn our words because they hear us talk, all the time. And it's through those things that they can convey messages. So I can't read wild animals because wild animals don't associate with us. We have really nothing in common. We don't share anything with them. So I have actually also read horses, some birds, I think a gerbil, a rabbit, and even a rat, a pet rat. I haven't read any reptiles. I'm a little uncomfortable with reptiles in the physical, so maybe that's probably why. But nobody's asked me to read a reptile, and I won't go to insects. I'm going to tell you that right now. So if somebody has a pet spider, I'm sorry.
Why? Why? Fill me in.
I have nightmares about spiders. So.
Oh, snakes for me, man. Can't stand snakes. Snakes and sharks. And you know what? They all have their purpose. just not around me. This is why I don't go into the Everglades. This is why I don't go even sticking my pinky toe in an ocean puddle at the beach, because Jaws may be in there, right?
So you saw the movie, obviously, right?
Oh, yes.
Jaws.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I saw that as a teenager, and I remember that night having nightmares of being eaten by a shark, and I remember waking up screaming, and my parents had to calm me down. And I thought, okay, I want nothing to do with that anymore. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, that is sharks. Sharks just, honestly, they scare the daylights out of me. They're gorgeous animals or creatures, fish, whatever you want to call them. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, except that one that has the teeth all over the place, real bad dental plan in the ocean. Right? Not a fan of that. But they're good there. No. I don't need to be there because, Rob, you know, I'm a meal. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little chunky. I'm a meal, you know? And I don't need to entice some sort of shark-like activity around me because I know that they will come for a little taste. You know, and you know, I eat a lot of garlic, so I probably have a little flavoring to me. You know, it's just not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would be a snack.
Yes, you would be. You're like $1.40 wet.
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of other things that I wanted to bring up too, is that how pets can communicate.
Okay, we got 2.5 minutes.
Okay, so you know, as a scientist myself, I wanted to find out about the intelligence of pets. So I recommend a couple of things. Stanley Coren is a great author who wrote How Dogs Think and the Intelligence of Dogs, and he's, in a nutshell, he's proven that dogs have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child. Same thing with a cat. There's another study that I cite in my books too by a neuroscientist, Dr. Gregory Burns of Emory University. He did MRIs on dogs to prove that dogs have the same exact emotions as humans, and he measured the caudate in a section of the brain, and determined that animals have the same exact reaction in that section of the brain that humans do when they show love for another person. So scientifically, we have proven that pets have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child, and they have the same exact emotions as people, and that's how they can communicate.
Wow. Okay. Let's see if we can quickly sneak in one quick question here. Shar wants to know, have you ever tried communicating with something like Bigfoot?
No, I haven't. Because number one, I need a picture, and number two, there has to be. I don't know if they, you know, they're like not. Do they know people's habits and so forth? So nobody's ever actually sent me a picture of Bigfoot to try and communicate with one. That's a good question, though.
I would love to see if you could try. You know, I know you're a city guy, you got great hair, and you wear Dockers, but either way, all right, I would love to see you try. You know, go get a little mud on the face and go into the forest and just see if you could. I bet you could. I have total faith that you could, my friend.
Well, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to try anything.
I think it would be great. Then you can come back, report on us, and your next book, which would be I Communicated with Bigfoot. And he is not happy at all for a tagline. Rob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have this amazing author and a good friend of this show, medium Rob Gutro. His website, robgutro.com. If you want to check it on out, you can find all of his books there, including Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Spirit Dogs, his latest book, and I highly suggest you check out his entire selection. We got Rob for another 30 minutes, then it's the Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back.
All right.
Is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
All right, my friend, we're back. All right.
All right.
So just stick with me until we get through the break here at the bottom of the hour. Then I'll say a proper good night to you before we shut things down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So there are a couple of interesting stories that I could highlight for you.
Sure.
In the book, and one is about a dog that told me how he and some of his siblings passed away, and the other one is a chapter that this woman named Ginny wrote me, and she wanted to find out how her dogs passed. She had 5 dogs, and all of the deaths were kind of mysterious. She never kind of figured out what caused their deaths, and they all came through to me, and they all died in different ways.
Let's find out about it. Absolutely. We got about just over 90 seconds.
Okay. I know my dogs haven't wanted to go out yet. So what other kind of dogs do you have?
I
You have
have
German Shepherd.
I got the German Shepherd cross, and then I have purebred German Shepherd.
Okay, wow. So those are just amazing dogs.
Oh yeah. And I was offered another German Shepherd, just earlier this week, but I can't take another big dog. I really can't.
Yeah. It's a lot. So I think at one point, we've had 4 dogs for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And one was, Dolly, when the Weimaraner was big. She was 70 pounds. Not quite as big as a German Shepherd, certainly, but, and the other dogs are small. They're all Dachshunds,
right?
Dachshund mixes. But, when Dolly was at the end of her time, in her last year, I had to actually carry her up and down stairs all the time.
Yeah.
So
that's
how it worked out.
That's how it got with Zero, my little chubby girl. But hold on, my friend. We're going to come back here in about 5 seconds.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Want to say thank you to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on KPNL, TalkStream Live, and Revolution Radio. Remember to check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What is this? Umbelliferous. There we go. Umbelliferous is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we bring in Rob Gutro. He is a medium to pets in the afterlife. His website, robgutro.com, where you can find his latest book, Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Spirit Dogs. Rob, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me back for hour number 3. Wow. I'm still sitting upright.
Well, I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are. You'll get a treat after the show. And we'll figure something out. I mean, you deal with pets enough. Peanut butter? You want some peanut butter? Would that make you happy?
That would make me good.
All right, you got to roll over first. Hey, Rob, you have a couple of really cool stories you want to share from your book, Pets in the Afterlife 3, Messages from Spirit Dogs.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about many different ways that pets communicate. And one of the things that pets will tell me when I connect with them, Dave, is they'll usually share their pain of passing. So what that means is that, and the same thing with humans, whenever I go on an investigation with Inspired Ghost Tracking Group, humans will share their pain of passing. So human-wise, I've been hit and punched and kicked and stabbed and shot, and I felt cancer and heart attacks and all kinds of things. Dogs will also do the same thing. They will convey those things. So I do all my readings as they are sitting at a computer in my little office, and my body starts to feel all kinds of crazy things from dogs and cats that pass. I can sometimes my right leg will suddenly ache terribly, and I will have to type up that your dog's right rear leg was bothering them before they passed. I felt kidney failure and all kinds of things. So, related to that, sometimes I get people who ask me how their pet passed. They don't know. In one particular instance, this woman had written me, and her name was Elizabeth, and she had a Cocker Spaniel who was a very young dog, I think less than a year old, and she went out for the night, and the dog was home with her husband, and she was called home by her husband that the dog was not feeling well, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with the dog. The dog was very lethargic. So she called a vet, emergency vet. Emergency vet said, you can either take the dog in right now and we can analyze the dog, which we recommend, or you can watch the dog. And she opted to watch the dog. Well, long story short, Dave, the dog passed in a couple of hours. And she totally didn't understand what happened. So she turned to me and she said, "What? Please, my dog was less than a year old. What in the world happened to my dog?" So I talked to this dog. The dog's name's Clancy, and the dog showed me that he liked to go out in the backyard and he liked to eat plants. And then he made me feel my stomach hurt suddenly, like heck, while I was sitting here typing, and I felt intense pain. And Clancy told me that he died from ingesting a plant that was poisonous. So I sent her a list of SPCA poisonous plants for dogs, and she wrote back and she confirmed that there were several of those plants in her backyard, and that Clancy used to like to go out and eat plants in the backyard. So she finally got her answer, and she felt, she didn't know that these plants, these common house plants or yard plants, were poisonous to dogs. So Clancy gave that message as a warning to all pet parents. Make sure you know what common plants are poisonous, and you can save your dog's life. A similar email came from a woman named Ginny who had 4 Westies over 20 years, and she didn't know what caused their deaths. And so they came to me one at a time. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because there's 4 of them, but she said that one of the dogs came up to her deck and passed, and she didn't understand what happened to the dog. So I got in touch with the dog, and the dog told me that there is a wooded area that he went in, and he was bitten by a poisonous snake, and only had enough strength to come back to the house to go up to the deck and pass away. So she wrote me back and she says, "Oh my gosh, when I lived in that house, there were woods behind there, and the dog would, walk around the periphery of the yard, and I was always afraid of snakes." And she said that makes perfect sense. So in that particular case, that dog passed from a snake bite. But it's amazing what they can convey. It really is.
Man. Sometimes we see pets as clumsy, silly, excitable, uncontrollable at times, but I mean that in a very good, positive way. I look at my dog Doug. I'll send him out in the snow, and I can see at when the snow melts, I could see almost his disappointment. But when the snow arrives, he acts just like the silliest puppy, where he's one of these dogs where we got a little slope in our backyard, and he'll lie down and he'll push himself down and almost like he's sledding down, and he runs around burying his face in the snow. I mean, he's slowing down a little bit now because he's almost 11, but I mean, just watching him, that childlike behavior that dogs have, when they're their happiest, do they take that energy and that love into the afterlife, and does that translate into what their spirit acts like on the other side?
Yeah, they do. They really do take that love and that energy with them, and they use that and convey it when they come back. And often the easiest way for people to see that is through dreams, because dreams are the easiest way that spirit can communicate with us. So usually when you dream of your pet, it'll be in a happy setting. Unless they have some other message that they're going to convey to you about the setting may hold a key to some other thing that's happening in your life. But for the most part, yeah, they bring that happiness, and they always have it with them.
Interesting. No, I think that's great. I mean, that's so comforting in regards to that. What message are we missing from our pets on this side that they try to convey on the other side for us to learn? Because there's always a message.
Yeah, there are quite a few messages, actually. And I think that if we paid closer attention to our dogs and cats, that we would learn how to be better humans. And that it's exactly that, is that we have to have more patience. We have to be more kind to others, just like pets are. We have to love unconditionally. That means that means loving somebody not because they're doing something for you, but because you love them, who they are. And a lot of people don't. I don't know. A lot of people haven't grasped that concept. That's what pets are trying to show us. That's what they really want us to know, is that we need to be kinder and to others and more unselfish, because that's exactly what they are. They're extremely kind to us. They love us without condition, and they forgive us for stupid things that we do, whether we forget to put their water bowl down, or whether we feed them 3 hours late, or forget to give them their medicine one night, or something like that. So we just need to be more – they're trying to tell us to be more patient with people too. So there's a lot to learn from pets, this side and the other side.
You mentioned a few pets like reptiles or insects like spiders that you will not deal with. They just kind of creep you out.
Yeah.
Are there any animals or pets out there that you will not try to communicate with?
No. Really, that if somebody really wants me to try and get a message from their pet on the other side, I'd be more than happy to try. And it's mediumship is not an exact science. You get messages when you get them, and you don't always understand them either. So oftentimes too, I always say that mediumship being a medium is like getting puzzle pieces, and the person for whom the messages are intended are responsible for fitting those pieces into the big puzzle to figure out what they mean. Like in the first hour, I told you about that cat that told me the word mala, and I didn't know what it meant. It was up to the pet parent, and it turned out it was a kind of prayer, opening prayer that she uses every day. I would never know what that meant. So I'm open to trying to communicate with any domesticated animal. But I do try to tend to shy away from spiders and snakes, like Jim Stafford. For those of us old enough to know that reference.
Okay, what about wild animals?
Yeah, I can't tune into wild animals. I mean, I know I saw somebody in the chat room that said someone only communicates with wild animals, but I think that's more on a behavior kind of basis rather than a interpreting what they want kind of thing. I think it's a different kind of thing. So I will say, though, that there's another gift. So I'm a medium. I communicate with people and pets who passed. But animal communicators have the gift of interpreting what your living animal is thinking, why they do what they do, and why they behave the way they behave. So that's animal communicators. And I think animal communicators could probably understand wild animal behavior. I just can't, because I can't relate to them. And that's not my gift.
Okay. So if all of a sudden you came across, let's say in your backyard, a lizard or a gecko or a duck, all right, yep. or just a pissed off Canadian goose, because every time America upsets Canada, we send more Canadian geese down. It's just the way we like to do things around here. But no, I tease. But when you're like, you just don't get any messages at all, like it just comes up as a blank.
I haven't attempted to communicate with them, and they would have to be dead. I mean, for me to communicate with them. So living animals like geese and so forth that show up, and squirrels. No, I don't have that ability to be that's an animal communicator.
Okay. All right. So the ones that cross over, do you ever get any animals that are like, oh man, am I glad to be out of that house? This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, some on occasion are relieved and it's usually the ones that were animal rescues. The ones that say, I am so grateful to my last family for taking me out of the torturous situation that I was in the beginning of my life. So yes, I will get those kinds of messages, but they're often thanks to the foster family that gave them, or the newly adopted family that gave them the love that they had been craving since they were young.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Now, for you, the way you help people, because in the end, you're like a psychic intuitive counselor.
Yes.
What's the response from people as you go through this path with them? Are they usually quite believing, non-believers? How does that work?
It runs the gamut. It's either side. I've run into some non-believers, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody. As a matter of fact, I just talked to a friend's husband who doesn't get what I do, and and my reaction was, that's perfectly fine. You'll get it when you need it. When people finally need some kind of comfort, like to communicate with their pet, then they'll come to me, and then they'll understand how it all works. But it's just like anything else that affects you in life, I think. We watch the news all the time, and if somebody lives in a bad neighborhood and somebody gets shot, you're like, another shooting, and then you're like, yeah, and then you go on with your day. But if you live in that neighborhood, you're panicked, you're nervous, you're worried, because it affects you. It's the same thing with medium readings too, is that unless you need it, or unless something affects you, you may be skeptical.
Okay. All right.
Spirit are there. They're definitely always trying to communicate with us. So.
Oh, I just find it fascinating, the fact that it's even going on. I really am, because we all are trying so hard to try and figure out whether or not there is life after death. Do pets worry about death as much as people do?
They don't obsess with it, but they do know that it's coming. Yeah, that's that's a good question. I think as humans we develop more of a fear of death because we're more aware of it than pets. I mean, pets really are only aware of their limited surroundings, and we tend to isolate them from other things, from death. I mean, certainly they understand death if you're walking your dog and there's a dead squirrel or a dead bird or something like that. They understand that, but they don't dwell on it. They kind of live in the moment, I think, and I think that's a kind of a good thing to do.
Do they recognize time?
There's been a lot of studies about that, and I think that they do, and they also do from the other side, of course, because birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, they come back because of the energy that they feel. But I think they do because if you have a cat or a dog and they don't, and you don't feed them on time, they let you know it. Here in my house, Dave, we have what I call 3 treat time, and that's always at 8 o'clock. And these dogs, no matter where they are, they will always be in the kitchen by 8 o'clock. It doesn't matter if the time changes too, by the way. If you go to daylight time to standard time, they still know 8 o'clock. So yeah, I think they know time.
Oh, my dogs are such characters with that. I mean, I absolutely love it when my dogs act like they are just absolutely starving and they just can't figure out, hey, how come you haven't read or fed me yet? Now my dogs are coming up to me like an hour and a half, 2 hours before dinner time, kind of saying, we you forgot about us. You forgot. We're hungry. We're starving here. Absolutely starving. And I'm like, guys, you got 2 hours to go yet. You greedy bastards. Greedy bastards.
Yeah, our kids will try and show up at 7:30 in the kitchen, and I'm like, oh, no, you don't. You're going to have 30 more minutes to wait.
Right? I know. I'm like, how do you do this? Like, come on.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
I hear you. My friend, we only got about 2 minutes left with you tonight, and this was a show that flew on by, and I'm very thankful that you took the time to come on down here with us once again, and I always love it when you're on because I don't think this is a topic we cover enough, but I'm glad that we have you in our back pocket to be able to do that, Rob. Let all of our audience members know where they can get a hold of you for a reading or find your books.
Thank you, Dave. Sure. It's easier to probably find me at petspirits.com. It goes to the same place as robgutro.com, but my last name is hard to spell. So, petspirits.com, and you can find all the books on Amazon in paperback and ebook. And as a self-published guy, I can set the price as low as possible, so they're all under $10. So I want them to be affordable so that people can read them and get comfort and understanding how their pets are communicating with them from the other side. Also, if anybody wants a reading, I charge $10 for it. I'm not in business to make, I'm not. That's not my purpose. It's really writing books and so forth. And you can find that information on petspirits.com on the corner. But and I only do them on the weekends, Dave, because I'm a meteorologist during the week.
You're the weatherman.
Yeah, and don't blame me for your cold now.
No, we knew. I like the Arctic front.
All right.
It's two. The experiences you get. I will tell you this: if you've never breathed in fresh, cold Arctic air, it is very comforting in the lungs. Very comforting.
It is, unless you have asthma, though.
Yes, unless you have asthma.
Yeah,
that is true.
I say that from experience, man.
I hear you. Rob, thank you once again for coming on Spaced Out Radio. We absolutely love you around here, and we cannot wait to do it again. And all the best to you. And, I know you're probably going to bang out another book probably by the year's end or into next year, but we look forward to bringing you on for that as well.
Thanks, Dave. Love you too, man. And be safe.
Take care. Coming up next, We have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. More Spaced Out Radio right after this. That's good stuff, Rob Gutro. Good stuff.
Thank you, Dave.
Give you a few claps there, buddy.
It's always a pleasure. I can't believe that we've been talking for 2.5 hours.
I know. It
That's
was
insane.
awesome. And we had great audience participation with some fantastic questions.
Yeah, you have fantastic listeners. And by the way, if anybody has questions, they can just email me, or go to my Facebook page and send me questions. I love questions.
Yeah.
So
one of our friends of this show, Kat Ward, she has a podcast called Paranormal Heart. I gave her your email, so that way she was hoping that I could put in a good word for her with you to potentially be interviewed on her show.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem, bud. Anything to help you out.
Wow.
Anything to help you out.
Well, I appreciate that. And, like I said, my mission here, and thanks to my dog Buzz, is to try and bring peace and comfort to as many people, pet parents, as I can.
You're doing great work, my friend. I will let you go get some sleep since it's like 2:30 in the morning where you are. And
it certainly is.
And make sure you give those doggies a scratch from all of us here at Spaced Out Radio.
You too. Thanks, Dave.
All right, take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Love him. Love him. He's awesome. RobGutro.com. Hey, Jose, how you doing, man? Hey, I'm glad you liked that border wall. Thank you so much. Yeah, Rob's a class guy, man. Class guy. Thank you, Theodora. You're a shrew, Lexi? You're a shrew? Yeah, Rob is a cool dude. Anytime, he's one of those guys, honestly, that anytime he wants to come on this show, we're like, yep, when do you want to book a date? Let's do this. There's just certain good people in this field that you want to help them out, not only because they're entertaining for the show, but they're really good people, and they know how to answer questions, and they know how to engage with an audience. And that's what I love about Rob when he comes on. So, like, anytime Rob ever wants to come on, I'm like, yeah, man, get your ass back on the show here. Let's do this thing. We got to do this. So that's what it is. Well, don't thank me for the guests. All that credit goes to Corrence, the booking guy. He's the one who busts his ass every single day trying to keep us really, really in tune with what's going on with great guests, and he just keeps pumping them out. And Corrence is a, don't give me credit, I'm just the guy in front of the camera. Corrence is the guy who does all of the lead up. He's the guy who does all the stuff. And trust me, I know how hard that job is. And Corrence does amazing with it. And he has made my life so easy. So don't thank me for the guests. Thank Corrence. If somebody, like with Rob there, when he reached out, like, Dave, hey, I want to come back on, I immediately passed it over to Corey and said, hey, Corey, can you find a date for Rob? Corey takes care of it. I mean, he is such a blessing to what we do here at Spaced Out Radio that I could never be more appreciative. Hey, there's Rob in the chat room there. I didn't see you. Hey, Rob, good night, man. You have a great night. It was an absolute pleasure. But, yeah, Corrence is like, shut the hell up already, Dave. Shut the hell up. All I want to do is my woodworking. And you cut that into my day. No, we love him. We love Corrence, so let's give Corrence a round of applause here. Stu Gerson. No, Corrence, I won't shut the hell up because this is my friggin' show. And if I'm going to give you a compliment, I'm going to give you a compliment. You sexy mustached man, you. Hello, Murrence. Murrence F. All right. We're like 20 seconds away. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the grotesque. The grotesque, everyone. A Russian serial killer who murdered 3 of his drinking friends and then ate their boiled remains has been jailed for life. Well, I should hope so. 51-year-old Edward Seleznev was convicted of killing 3 friends between March 2016 and March 2017. Seleznev, who is known for his being a cannibal, was sentenced to life imprisonment by a lower court. His lawyers appealed the decision, but they were unsuccessful, as now the highest court in Russia has confirmed the sentence. During his trial, Seleznev admitted he boiled his drinking buddies' bodies and used their cooked remains as food after he stabbed them when they passed out from drinking too much alcohol. The unnamed victims, who were aged 59, 43, and 34, were sliced up to remove the best parts he wanted to eat, which were then stored in plastic baggies with the rest dumped in a local river. The court heard his bizarre eating habits, also included cooking local cats and dogs, as well as birds and other small animals found on the streets. He even moved into the apartment where one of his victims was and told the man's parents their son had gone to work in another city. He told the same story to police officers who started a missing persons investigation. The situation was easier for Seleznev to get around with the other 2 victims, as they apparently had no relatives asking questions about where they were. When the bodies were eventually discovered, police said the advanced state of decay and the condition after they had been partially cut up made them difficult to identify. Reports said the defendant was charged with double murder in the past and was released after serving 13 years in jail. The Russian criminal code does not include cannibalism, so the defendant was on trial for murder and misusing the victim's body parts. He was ordered to stand trial after psychiatrists declared him sane and fully responsible for his actions. Despite this, the defendant gave evidence that voices in his head told him to commit the crimes. After reevaluating all the evidence, the Russian Supreme Court sentenced Seleznev to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Good for him. Grotesque, though, eh? Just grotesque. 6 skeletons have been uncovered in the wreck of a pirate ship that sank more than 300 years ago. The The remains were retrieved from Captain Black Sam Bellamy's pirate ship, the Whydah, which met its fate off the coast of New England in 1717. Good year. According to the reports, the skeletons had become embedded in a large number of concretions, hard, compact heaps of stone and sand that formed on the seabed. They were pulled from the water after the ship, believed to be the only fully authenticated pirate vessel in the world, was discovered more than 35 years ago. The Whydah is said to have been a former slave ship, which was stolen by pirates and sank following a violent storm. It's understood that only 2 of the 146 crew members on board survived. The skeletons, which were recovered, along with weapons and other items, were only recently identified after being analyzed by a team of researchers. Underwater archaeologist Barry Clifford headed up the team that examined the remains. Speaking about the find, he said, "We hope that modern cutting-edge technology will help us identify these pirates and reunite them with any descendants who could be out there." Casey Sherman is another member of the research team, and 2 years ago actually managed to trace Black Sam's DNA to a descendant in England. It is now hoped that these new remains will lead the team to the real Sam, who is one of 40 crew members to have never been found. Mr. Sherman said that bone was identified as human male with general ties to eastern Mediterranean area. These newfound skeletal remains may finally lead us to Bellamy, as we now have his DNA. The concretions in which these remains were found are now on display at the Whydah Pirate Museum in West Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Back in 2019, it was reported that an island near Costa Rica harbored a treasure that is supposedly worth around $1 billion and is guarded by hundreds of sharks. Of course it is. Yeah, there's another treasure I'm not going to find. The treasure is thought to have been buried on a remote island of the Cocos by Captain William Thompson after he was entrusted with moving it from the Peruvian capital of Lima because of fears of an uprising. Oh, very cool. Here's a cool one, yet strange. A pair of former classmates in Indiana were reconnected decades later on Facebook while they made a shocking discovery. They're long-lost twin siblings. Karen Warner, who's 51, said she found out her biological mother's name a few years ago when Indiana unsealed adoption records, and the discovery came with a surprise. She had a twin brother. Warner said she sought help from various adoption websites to try and find her long-lost brother. Everybody kept coming up with nothing because we didn't have a name to go by or anything. Warner said the big break came when she obtained local voting records with a list of 3 men who shared her birth date. The third name on that list, Mike Jackman, stood out because he was a high school classmate who she had only very recently reconnected with on Facebook. Warner said Jackman a Facebook message saying, "Hey, we might be twin siblings," and the pair went out and had a DNA test performed that confirmed their connection. "It filled a void in my life I didn't know was there," Jackman said. "There was something out there I didn't know was there, and now it's here. She's here." The siblings say they now talk almost every day and get together several times a week. We're like 2 peas in a pod. You know, imagine how tough that would be. Like splitting up siblings for adoption. I could never imagine. I could not imagine. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. A Canadian farmer recently broke a Guinness World Record when he grew a 63.9-pound turnip in his garden. Yeah, Damien Allaire of Carleton-sur-Mer, Quebec, said he decided to take on the world record in 2016 when he grew a 15.4-pound turnip and discovered the world record had stood at 39 pounds since 2004. Yeah, there's goals in life here. Let's grow a big turnip. Allaire said that he grew 3 turnips in the late 2020s, or late 2020, that all broke the record, a 50.49-pounder, a 53.79-pound vegetable, and the new record holder at 63.9-pound turnip. Yes, it's got a belt that goes around the turnip's waist. Allaire, has his turnips officially weighed in November, and Guinness confirmed this week that he was now the holder of the record for the world's heaviest turnip. Something to be proud of. I don't know why, but apparently that's something to be proud of. A Tennessee dog is living a very comfortable life after inheriting $5 million from her late owner, who stipulated in his will that his money should go to his pet. Lulu, an 8-year-old border collie, was named in the will of owner Bill Doris, a Nashville businessman who died last year at the age of 84. Martha Burton, a neighbor who often cared for Lulu while Doris was away, was named as the canine's caretaker in Doris's will, which states Burton will be reimbursed for reasonable monthly expenses. I don't really know what to think about it, to tell you the truth. He just really loved that dog, Burton said. Burton said she's perfectly happy to act as Lulu's caretaker. She's a good girl. She deserves it. What happens to the money when the dog dies? Who gets it then? Does it just go to charity? I hope there was something written up about that. All right. A rooster that participates in Civil War reenactments was reunited with its owner after going missing in the parking lot of a Cracker Barrel restaurant in Alabama. Thomas Ramsey, founder of the Muddy Rabbits Mess Military Reenactment Group, said he started bringing his pet rooster, Peep, along to Civil War reenactments after learning about soldiers who kept similar pets on the front lines. Ramsey said he and his group, including Peep, were on their way back to Mississippi after a reenactment event in Spring Hill, Tennessee, when they stopped at the Cracker Barrel. He said Peep was tied up in the bed of his pickup truck, but a friend went out to check on the vehicle about an hour later and discovered Peep was gone. I went back into the Cracker Barrel, and it was very hard for me to say this with a straight face, even though I was panicking. Do you have cameras in the parking lot? I think someone stole my chicken. A fellow diner overheard the question and told Ramsey that Peep had been spotted wandering loose in the parking lot. Ramsey, his friends, and Cullman Animal Control Officer Cooper Harris searched the area for Peep, but eventually the group had to get back on the road to Mississippi. Ramsey posted to multiple Facebook groups about his missing pet, and when he was nearly back in Mississippi, he learned Peep had returned to the Cracker Barrel parking lot and was safely captured. John Watson, a local farmer who had followed the search on Facebook, volunteered to drive Peep to Birmingham, where the chicken and owner were reunited. I believe in paying it forward, Watson said. God has blessed my family so much throughout the years. I believe we should be kind to our fellow man. Yeah, it was just a chicken, but it was his, and he clearly cared for it. It's kind of cool that the guy did that. The owner of a New Jersey sanctuary said a steer that escaped from a Rhode Island slaughterhouse will be given a new permanent home if rescuers can find it. Michael Stura, head of a nonprofit Skylands Rescue in New Jersey, said he struck a deal with the Connecticut owner of the escaped steer to have the bovine donated to the sanctuary at no cost. The steer escaped from outside the Rhode Island Beef and Veal Slaughterhouse in Johnson last week and has been on the loose ever since. The steer was spotted several times on the day of the escape but hasn't been seen in several days. Rescuers said they are currently searching for the animal in a river basin area. Stura said the steer could survive on the loose for months if it finds an adequate food source. He said the animal would not be bothered by cold temperatures. And finally tonight, well, it's been a while actually since we had a good Florida man story. Wouldn't you say? Well, we got a good one tonight. Well, Florida man is at it again. This time, in love. He's not very lucky. A story just in time for your Valentine's Day cynics. This time, Florida man has a bevy of aliases, all used to pursue women. Multiple names allowed him to get into pretty serious relationships with at least two of them, to where he asked one to marry him. He did so with a set of rings he stole from his other paramour. So, remember when Catfish first premiered on MTV? The first few episodes were pretty crazy, that people were acting like someone else online to manipulate people into relationships, but by the fourth episode, we all realized all the producers were doing is reverse image searching people's Finstas on Facebook profiles. Well, this gets good. You ready for some juice? Let's get to it. Well, this day and age, we should all be doing our due diligence with people we're dating, especially if we meet them on sites like OkCupid, as these women did with this Florida man. Yes, certain sites, require you to do something, almost like requiring a Carfax report. That's what you need for Tinder, Plenty of Fish, and others. Anyways, online dating app Match, Bumble, Hinge, you could Google their names and do a few reverse image searches to make sure they don't end up on the up and up, but you're second-tier date sources. You'll serve your future self better by doing a little bit of extra groundwork. So this is what happened. Florida paramour DMs the fiancé and explained that the engagement ring was stolen property. The fiancé was way ahead of the Florida paramour. Florida man had stolen the fiancé's computer and jewelry and was disappointed. The women discovered that the Florida man used to pretend paramour's house was his own, taking the fiancé there, and asked her to move in with him. The fiancé returned the property she had to Florida paramour. However, Florida man is still missing, with a warrant now out for his arrest. People get up to some strange hijinks in Florida, but this strikes as one of the stupidest ways to get a warrant out for your arrest. First, don't post pictures of stolen property on your Facebook. It's evidence. Even if your profile is private, someone is hateful, following you, and totally willing to give the screenshots to police. Second, don't steal jewelry and just give it away. Florida police identified the man partly because of a tattoo both women described, a cross with the words, "Only God can judge me," on it. Only God can judge me. Oh, yeah. Good job, Florida man. Your secret's safe with the entire world now. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Tell me a story about who you'd like to speak with again from the other side. Dirty Fylth. Since I see my grandpa frequently in my dreams, I'd love to chat with my grandma. I don't blame you. Joseph. I'd like to speak with my father. He died of ALS and wasn't in his right mind near the end, saying some hurtful things that have never gone away. I just want to hear him say he loved me or is proud one more time. Anything to hear it again. Johan. Ryan Dunn from Jackass. That would be good. That would be a good one, Johan. Absolutely. Davey. It would be the most insightful UFO researcher and writer that ever lived, the editor of the Flying Saucer Review, Gordon Creighton. I was blessed enough to meet him several times. I miss his wisdom, his insight, and his friendship. Oh, yeah. Stanton Friedman, too. I think Stanton Friedman would be... Can you imagine Stanton Friedman? Well, I guess we got all the answers now, but I'm not allowed to share them with you because I have an NDA with God. Could you imagine Stanton? How's my Stanton Friedman, by the way? Oh, yeah. I thought that was pretty good. At least it sounded good in my headphones. At least it did. All right, Bill, I want to meet with John Keel. Have a long, in-depth conversation about Mothman. Lindsay, Ms. Claire Clemo, my grade 7 teacher. I wish I could have had one last day to hear all those stories about life. I never had a chance to say goodbye, and I'd love to thank her for being a tremendous inspiration. I think about her often, if not daily. Tom, they may be speaking to us first. Lisa has a weird one here. Genghis Khan. Why, Dave? Something different. What made him do it? What inspired him? Did he think about the long-term effects he would produce, or was it a day-by-day thing? All right. Stephen wants to hear from Nostradamus. He never told me why. He's keeping that a secret. Maybe he has some predictions. Well, I don't know, as Stanton Friedman would say. There are no predictions. There's only answers. Gil. My dad, he passed away nearly 4 years ago, and I miss him terribly. Davy. Oh, we already read Davies on Twitter. Kimberly. My mom and my grandma. They've been gone a very long time. Heidi. Art Bell. He knows all the answers to all the questions he asked back in the day, and we still don't have the answers to. Art Bell would be cool. Catherine. My great-aunt Mary, or Marie, we called her Aunt Lolly. I'd ask her about the nickname Lolly and how she met her husband and why they didn't have kids or why she didn't marry again after he died. I would ask about the family as well and tell her that I love her. She has been gone a long time and I still miss her greatly. Kevin, Dave, I would like to speak with Ricardo de Gugelmo. I probably butchered that. He was an English-born actor who played Mr. Whipple on Don't Squeeze the Charmin commercials. Maybe he could tell me why freaked-out people have hoarded toilet paper. Corey, like to speak with Jesus because I think all knew him before we were put on this planet. Well, that's a good one, too. Who would I like to speak with? You know, relative-wise, I would love to speak with my nephew again. I really would. I've communicated with two of my grandfathers. Well, both of my grandfathers who passed. I've never communicated with my uncle. That one's weird. That one bugs me. I'd like to communicate with my uncle. That would be kind of cool. He was a smart man. Too bad alcoholism got a hold of him. And he couldn't shake it. But that's okay. He's in a better spot. My grandma would be cool. I still, you know what? I'll go be honest. I'm 47. I still have a grandma who's still alive. I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I still have my parents who are alive. You know, I'm feeling pretty blessed with that. So I don't have much to shake. On a famous side, I would love to meet with someone like Muhammad Ali. Or someone who is just the epic of their epitome of their sport. Because I'm such a sports guy, and that pressure, that attitude, that strength, that mental fortitude in order to be the best of the best, that is such a God-given talent. I would like to know where that came from. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave, and we will do it all again tomorrow. Because that's what we do on this show. We just continue on, and we do it again and again and again tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. We're pretty good at it here. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the wonderful news. You can find all of our news on the SOR News Wire. And Shirky Poo, she's all over it. She's always working hard for us. And, of course, to Medium, Rob Gutro. Find all of his books at robgutro.com. He'll do readings, too. It's only like $10 or something like that. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms on YouTube, LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and all the Starkers and Starkettes hanging out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.